I need the carnivore community to hear this because so many people are panicking over ketone numbers that do not tell the whole story. And I know this because I was at the Meat Stock Carnivore Keto Conference and talked to tons of people about their carnivore journey. And several of them brought up their blood glucose and their ketone numbers and say, yeah, but I'm really struggling to stay in ketosis. So here's what I want to tell you as somebody who is a 4-year carnivore who coaches carnivores every single day. This is what I do for a living, for a full-time job. After I'm done coaching in the gym, what I do is I coach carnivore nutrition and I help people who have food addiction to heal through carnivore and keto lifestyle. Let me tell you a personal story. So 2 days ago, when I got home from a baseball tournament with my son, I made my carnivore crackers. And if you know the carnivore cracker recipe, if you don't know it, go to my playlist because it's one of my most popular recipes. I make them with eggs, beef gelatin, and butter, and then sometimes I'll put in some Equip protein powder, and I just wanted a little bit of flavor. Typically I don't do this because I am a food addict, and even having a little bit of stevia sometimes wakes up all those old, well-worn neural pathways, and my brain lights up and is ready for more. So it tends to give me cravings. That aside, what I did is I put in a little bit of vanilla Equip protein into my carnivore crackers. I did not remember, I don't know why I forgot this, but I was like, oh, it's just a little stevia, that's fine. I forgot that there's coconut sugar in it. So here I am saying I eat 0 sugar and I put a little sugar in. Not the biggest deal. But after that, my ketone numbers were different. And I was like, huh. And I've been taking it pretty regularly. I take my ketone numbers just as like a science experiment. Every once in a while I get on a trend of taking my numbers, and I've noticed that over the weekend I was like 0.4 to even like 1.2 throughout any given day. Again, we don't need to be in ketosis all the time on carnivore. That's not the only goal. Our goal is to be metabolically flexible, where if there's sugar to use, our body uses sugar, and that could be the sugar that we make, not just dietary sugar, but we want to also run on ketones, right? But we don't need to always run on ketones. The reason why I'm taking my ketone numbers lately is because I'm in a fat loss phase. It's pre-summer and I was just looking to get rid of a little bit of weight. So I've been taking my ketone numbers, but I notice that my ketones are really settled around 0.2, 0.4. And I was like, could it have been because of the sugar? And then I reminded myself everything I tell my clients. So, for example, if you have increased your protein lately, if you're training and you're looking to have just an adequate amount of protein for muscle recovery, you might notice that your ketones read lower. This does not mean that you are not metabolically flexible and fat adapted. Things like high stress or poor sleep or your activity level could actually raise your blood glucose and lower your ketones. Again, this is not having to do with any intake of extra sugar. I am so metabolically flexible that little small amount of sugar is not what made my ketones go a little bit low and not read high the past couple days. It's really because I trained 3 times yesterday. I trained with 2 of my groups in the gym, and I went on a 5-mile hike, and that is going to suppress my ketones just a little bit. Keep in mind, it's all individual because some of my clients go have a really tough workout in the gym and their ketones go way up. There's a lot of things to consider. In long-term low-carb people, what tends to happen is your body is using ketones more efficiently, and so it might read a little bit lower just because your body is using them well. In the end, your ketones rely on the time of day. Usually we might have like a higher reading in the morning. It could be having to do with your protein intake, your hydration, your activity levels. What else? If you've been fasting. So all of these things factor in. But my main point of this message is we don't need to be in super high nutritional ketosis or deep ketosis all the time for carnivore to be working properly. There are certainly uses for the high ketones, for deeper level of healing, certainly for fat loss. We want to be in ketosis using our body and going in, making ketones and using our body weight for energy. But we don't need to be chasing ketones all day, every day. And I found myself kind of forget what I preach. And I fell back into like, oh shit, why am I not producing ketones. What's going on? And I had to remind myself of all of these things. So that's why I popped on to remind you. The good news is having a little bit of that coconut sugar, didn't know that I had it. Having just a little bit of it did not bring on a ton of cravings for me. I went right back to eating the way I typically eat, have a really nice fatty meal right after I work out. And then, I have my second meal of the day earlier than usual lately so that I can digest really well and do a nice long fast at night. So all is good. Doesn't matter if I popped out of fat loss just a little bit. You can still, by the way, you can still be burning fat and you could still be fat adapted without having super high levels of ketones. And if you need help with it, if you need help understanding it, that's what I do for a living. So reach out to me and let's see if coaching makes sense for you.